Recording started. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 86th community call. My name is Nimira Uversky. I'll be your host for today. I'm a community manager in the community. For today's agenda, we'll have Artur going through some Dapr environment variables, and then we'll have Radhika doing a demo of the Dapr-Azure functions extension, and then we'll close out with community show and tell and some discussion. Okay, first we'll start off with Artur.
Okay, so thanks, Nimade. So we're going to talk about the new environment variables that SDKs in Dapr are going to have, and also how that plays really well with Dapr Ambient. Okay, next slide, please. So Dapr Ambient basically deploys Dapr as a shared service in a cluster instead of a sidecar. So that means that applications will reuse the same Dapr APIs without having to run that side by side. This works for Dapr Ambient, but also work if your company has a remote API for Dapr and you want to connect to that. So it works for both scenarios the same way. So in the example we're going to show, we have Dapr Ambient installed using a daemon set and has a pod that contains the Dapr container. That will be talking to Redis like it would normally as a component. And then the Dapr Ambient service offers a few ports, but we're gonna focus on 2 ports today. We're gonna focus on the HTTP port and gRPC port. These are the ports where the application talks to the sidecar. Dapr Ambient also offers the internal gRPC port and the metrics port, but we're not gonna use those for this demo. And then if you want to know more about Dapr Ambient, there is a project on Dapr Sandbox for Dapr Ambient, and we're working on graduating that project out of Sandbox. So I think that's the only slide, right? I have. Let me see. Yeah, one more. Sorry. So now, how does this work? It's actually very simple. Instead of you adding Dapr annotations to your application, you don't need those anymore because there will be no sidecar to be injected. So what we do now is we get the environment variable into the application's container, and you can see how I'm setting both HTTP and gRPC. Some SDKs use HTTP, some SDKs use gRPC as for the communication protocol. Here we did a demo in Java. It uses both because it uses HTTP for service invocation, but uses gRPC for everything else. But the idea is that the operator, a sysadmin in the company can just set both environment variables and forget about it because the SDKs will just pick whatever it's whatever is applicable to it. So this is very simple way to configure your endpoint. It also works for local sidecar. So if for some reason in your company there's a problem resolving localhost to your wrong IP, I have seen that in the past where people were using Dapr. You can use that as well to change to which endpoint and to which IP you point this sidecar to if you have any issues. So it can even serve as a troubleshooting for Dapr sidecar itself. So in this example, we're going to use HTTP, but it does also work with HTTPS. So if you're not talking to a local service, you talk to a remote API, HTTPS is also supported. And of course, we recommend that being used with the Dapr API token environment variable as well for you to secure that for you to authenticate that communication. So now I think we're gonna demo. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so in this demo, I have a cluster with the usual Dapr installation and Redis. So not much different from your usual Dapr installation. There's nothing different here. Dapr control plane, Redis on the default namespace. Now let me get some commands. So the first command is configure your state store. That is nothing different from the usual state store you would set up for Dapr. Okay. And now we're going to install Dapr-Ambient. So we're going to pull the Helm chart, version 002. And now I'm going to install it. Okay, so right now it's pod initializing and Dapr-Ambient is running successfully. And then if you do okay, I might have a typo here. Okay, I'm gonna skip that part for now because my comment's not working. So but what we're gonna see, we can see the pod for Dapr-Ambient running. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna open and we're gonna open the source code briefly to show what the demo does. So the demo is what can I zoom in here? Let me see. View. How can I zoom in? Okay. There's no button here to make the zoom in. But what I'm gonna see, what I'm gonna say is increase font size. There you go. Found it. View, increase font size. So this should be better. So the example is very simple. You use the state store, and you're gonna every second you're gonna sleep, and you're gonna save your state store with a given timestamp. And if you look at the code, there's absolutely no difference in how you use Dapr. So the application has no idea if the sidecar is local or if it's not. There is no code change required. At this point, I'm gonna go and install the app. Is the same YAML that you saw in the slide. And now if I do pods. Okay, Dapr-Ambient demo app is now running. And as you can see, it's only one container. We don't have more than one container because we don't have the sidecar. And if I look at the logs, fingers crossed it's going to work. Yay. So it is saving to the state store every second. And now if I do a quick password here, let me just look at the password. Okay, this is the password. I'm going to do a little port forwarding here just for this demo, and then I'm going to use an app called Metis, which is an app that I use for showing for reading from Redis. So I'm going to connect. I'm going to paste the password, and you can see the value being saved and refreshed. Okay. So that was a quick demo. It's basically showing how SDKs can and applications run without Dapr sidecar, how the configuration of the endpoint is now easier, and more important than easier, it's going to be consistent across SDKs. So it's the same environment variables for all SDKs. I did that for Java. I sent a pull request for .NET, it's about to be merged. And then we're going to continue now for JavaScript, Python, and the other SDKs until they're all consistent. Okay. So, and that is in scope for 1.12 release. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Artur. Okay, so next we're going to switch over to a demo from Radhika. Radhika, do you want to go ahead and share?
Before I take, there are a couple of hands raised in the...
Oh.
People have questions. I think there were a couple of hands raised.
Okay, I'm not seeing hands.
Or more like an a plus in my case.
Oh yeah, those looked like they were applause. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so people are confirming they are just applauding Artur like crazy. No questions. Okay. Um, uh, okay. Radhika, do you want to go ahead and share your screen? I think you're good to go.
Okay, sure.
I love the silent applause in the in the chat.
One second, got frozen. My screen got frozen. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see. Oh, yeah. Do you want me to just share the slides for now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead and stop sharing.
Got frozen for me.
Yeah, no
Sorry
worries.
about that. Yes.
Okay, can you?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I can see the screen. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so move on to the next screen, Mali. Hello, everyone. This is Radhika from Microsoft. We just wanted to share a brief about Dapr extension for functions. As function is Azure function is a serverless event-to-event programming model. And so we have a Dapr integration with functions runtime using the function extension. Which will seamlessly integrate Dapr APIs with functions, and we can leverage Dapr in the functions programming model itself. And Dapr can work with functions only in specific configurations, given function is a serverless platform. Since Dapr sidecar requires a platform to run or the container to run, it will work with the functions which are running on the containerized environments. So today functions support on AKS, where functions can be configured to run on Azure Kubernetes service. Functions running in local dev machine for the development operations. Function can be configured to run in local machine, and then we can have Dapr running in self-hosted mode similarly. The third thing is functions on ACA. ACA is the Azure Container Apps platform where Sidecar is already embedded in it. So the platform is already available. On top of it, functions will be running. So we will be supporting Dapr extension with functions on ACA. This is coming soon. We are working on getting the functions extension to be released in the month of August. Primarily on the right side, a simple Dapr configuration screen, how it will look like in the functions environment, which is running on ACA, will look like this, where user can come in, enable the function, enable Dapr, and specify the mandatory required Dapr configurations here. And with that, the function app will be enabled with Dapr. With this, we'll move on to the next slide, Nimade. Yeah. So since the extension provides the Dapr is integrating with function, still maintaining the consistency of driving the operations and the functions programming model. So that's the advantage to keep function app developers in their mode. And also the functions programming model is more powerful. So Dapr is embedded in such a way that all the Dapr operations can be run in the functions programming language. I just shown a sample example code snippet here. If you see Dapr state, this is how in the coding we can specify what if a specific Dapr component is being used. It can be state or pub/sub or a service invocation. We have a set of triggers and bindings, which I will talk about in the subsequent slide. Primarily, Dapr states, secrets, pub/sub, service invocation, bindings, all these operations can be leveraged within the functions code. In the functions way of writing it. This Nimadi, can we move to the next slide? Yeah. So the extension will have a set of components. First one is configuration, which I have shown the screenshot in the beginning. Primarily, the extension requires the ports, and the app name, app port, all these things which is required for Dapr APIs to interact with function apps. So it will have a configuration. Then the extension runtime, the extension has its own runtime, which initializes the Dapr and configures all the settings based on the configuration we provide, the app port and app name, which sets up all the environment needed for the function and Dapr to integrate. And in the extension runtime will have HTTP client and HTTP server. The HTTP server is primarily for Dapr to be talking to the function when any external events or triggers that will be triggering the function from Dapr. In such cases, the Dapr to function interacts on the HTTP server, and the HTTP client is primarily when a certain the HTTP client is used from function is passing on some data like to the state store or calling the bindings that which goes through the Dapr. That is in which the function app will leverage the HTTP client to connect to the Dapr and perform the operation. Then the triggers. So as in the functions language, every interactions with external systems, either it's outgoing or inward coming, it's primarily handled in our triggers or the bindings way. Right? So here also it's the Dapr operations are grouped and standardized in terms of triggers and input and output bindings. The triggers are primarily where, as I said earlier, any operation from Dapr to app that has to happen. It can be a service invocation call. It can be a subscribing a message, right? So in such cases, the triggers will be used. In case of app pushing some data to state store or app calling any external API, those are invoked via the bindings. And the triggers here requires the HTTP server, which I explained above. So when the function extension is enabled with the Dapr specified configuration and the port number which we specified, the HTTP server will spin up on the port number that we specify in the configuration. Nimade, can we move to the next slide? Yeah, so these are the trigger types and the bindings, both input and output bindings that we support today with the extension. The service invocation trigger and the Dapr topic trigger is primarily for subscribing a topic from a message queue. And then we have Dapr state secret. In these two, we have both input and output bindings. And Dapr publish is an output binding. Dapr invoke is an output binding, primarily to call, as a call from function app is going outside via Dapr. So that's why it is in the binding category, output binding category. Okay, with this, we'll move on to the next slide. Yeah, this is the typical architecture, how it looks like, where when the Dapr, when any external service has published a message to the event hub or any message queue, and that message has to be subscribed by an function app, then the Dapr sidecar will be listening to the message queues and subscribes to the message queue, take the message, and then it interacts to the app via HTTP server, and it invoke the function app on that HTTP server. And as based on the message example, any order has been submitted and the confirmation has been sent. And based on that, the order state might be need to publish to the state store here. So then the app, once the app is invoked via HTTP trigger, right, then message is received. From there, the HTTP client will invoke the Dapr sidecar and store the message into the state store in this route. So the both HTTP server and the client, these will be running in the functions runtime, which are attached to the Dapr sidecar. Yeah, with this, we'll move on to the next slide. Yeah, okay. It's a demo. Let me share my screen. Hopefully it will be. Nimadi, can you please give me control?
Yep,
I'll
you should
try.
be able to share.
Yeah. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see.
Okay, all right. So I will start the function app first, which I have not started yet. I'm using Dapr run command. If you see function host start, this will be starting the function app on my local machine. So for the demo purpose, I have taken the scenario of Dapr function running locally. So that's where I'm running the function locally on my machine. Then the Dapr run will bring up the sidecar, then the function it will run up, then it will attach the configuration based on the port size specified in the above in the command. So it's all setting up. Okay, then I have taken an example here. To demo Dapr invoke, which is the Dapr trigger here. What is the app underneath? What it does is it's a Dapr invoke trigger. So using the Dapr invoke trigger, API call will be sent to function, and then the order will be placed, and the function app will store the order to the state store. So in this example, I have used Redis as the state store. So I'll just, hopefully it has come up. Yeah, it has come up. Both functions and Dapr, both things has come up here. I'm going here, and then I will run the app again. Okay. It's a service invocation call and then the state store call. Okay, so if we see here, yeah, the function create new order request has come. It has created new order has succeeded, and this is the ID, right? It successfully created. I can go to this Redis store, and then I can open this. And if I see the order ID 45, I just submitted, so it got stored into the Redis store. This is one example I have for the demo. Then I have one more. I have taken the PubSub also. So typically, I think what this example is doing is in the subscribe, right? So the subscribe operation is primarily coming from anything Dapr to app. That operation is handled via trigger. And so here I have a Dapr topic trigger, which is subscribing to the messages that is published to your topic A. It will listen to that, and then when the message is published to topic A, then a Dapr will read it and then publish to the output binding using to the topic B. That's a simple example I have taken. So I just say that, so first I'm publishing a message here, right, to topic A. Then we will come here and we can see here, okay, transfer from topic A, the message is published, sorry, subscribed and received the message. Then I'm going here and retrieving the order. Then this one it's using output binding. It will publish the message to topic B. The retrieve order has been executed here. And yeah, it has succeeded the message. This is a simple example I have for the how the subscribe trigger works, and the publish binding, which is an output binding, which is saving to the topic B. Yeah, that's all I have.
Awesome. Thanks, Radhika. Are there any questions? I don't see any in chat. Okay, it looks like we are all good. Let me go ahead and steal that screen from you again. Okay, so for our last thing on our agenda today, we're going to do a community. Oh, wait, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, just making sure. So last topic is just a community show and tell. Mark, do you want to go ahead and take that away?
Yeah, let me do that. Yeah. So there have been quite some blog posts written in the last 2 weeks. Probably the first two are quite important. And the first is the de facto case study that's now published on the CNCF website. So yeah, if anyone is asking what can you do with Dapr and are people and clients really using it, you can forward them to this pretty nice use case. The other one is on the Dapr blog. It's about completing the fuzzing audit. So that's a very nice confirmation that all of the source code and runtime is in pretty good state. So that was quite positive. There were, I think, only very minor findings found in this audit. So definitely have a look at that as well. Then on LinkedIn, there were like 2 final articles by Martino Bourdin. So big shout out to Martino of writing about all of these Dapr building blocks and features. It was really nice to see this whole line of articles by him. Then posted on the Digrid blog, it was an article by Bilgin about practical portability principles that involve Dapr. And then it was like a learning Dapr, like a starting tutorial from Nila van Rajamani. Sorry if I butchered your name. Then a Dapr observability one from Ranjit Singh. I think that was on Medium. Then another one on Medium about the battle of workflow, logic apps versus Dapr workflow. Quite an interesting comparison because it both quite different types of workflows, but it was a good post. And then the final 3 are, I couldn't really trace them back to individuals, but they are like company blog posts, but still interesting. It was very interesting to find a Vietnamese one actually. So they're also apparently using Dapr there, which was nice to see.
Yeah, very cool.
And then I have some pictures and then some stuff in the follow-up slides. So go to the next one. So the .Netflix YouTube account had a session about the Dapr workflow given by 2 people from Info Support, quite well known in the Dapr community. The next one. Then there was Developer Week conference in Germany about 2 weeks ago, which had 2 different sessions about Dapr. So it's also good to see. Next. And there was like .NET conference in Spain, I think also 2 weeks ago. We actually did like a Dapr giveaway there to win a swag kit. And we had Carlos talking there about Azure Container Apps and Dapr. So it was also very nice to increase the awareness about Dapr. Next one. Then there was a .NET community meetup, and we had a combined session both from APAM and Digrid about like the general state of Dapr. Next one. Then we had Mauricio speaking at Dev Barcelona, also about Kubernetes and Dapr. Next one. Then on the Digrid YouTube channel, there's now a introduction to the Dapr PubSub building block. Just a very short 5-minute video. Next one. And then I was a guest for a relatively new a live stream all about cloud native. So every week they invite another guest. So I had my 5 minutes of fame there to talk about Dapr. Next one. And yeah, this is the final one. So this is just like 2 random posts of people who apparently like Dapr a lot. So the The left one was visiting Azure Lowlands, conference in the Netherlands, and they put like the new Dapr stickers on their badge. And the right one was posted on LinkedIn, who gave a nice shout out that they really liked the framework. And that was the community show and tell. So just one more slide. Yeah, definitely. If you have like news of your own, or if you find something that's maybe not by you, you can please post it in the show and tell channel there. That also makes it a bit more easy for me to collect all of these posts from the internet. That's it. Awesome.
Thanks, Mark. It's really cool to see all the love we're getting for Dapr out in the wild like that. So the last thing we're going to do is just do open discussion. So are there any topics that folks want to discuss? It could be about the demos or anything we talked about today, or just anything going on in the community. Okay, sounds like we don't have any topics in chat and I'm not hearing anything. Oh, did I just hear someone go off mute? No? Okay, in that case, we'll go ahead and end the call for today. Thanks everyone for joining the community call.
Thank you.
Ready?
There's one question in chat.
Oh, there is? Oh, awesome. Tom, do you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question? Or if you're not able to unmute, you can just ask the question in chat.
I'm not sure if they're still here.
Yeah, he might have dropped off. Anyway, I know who this user is. I can go ahead and reach out and see what his question was.
But is a person unmuted in Zoom? So you have to give them permission to unmute themselves, no?
Here, let me check.
The person already left the call, it seems, right?
Yeah,
Based on the
he's
I
already
think so too.
gone.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anywho, yeah, I have him. I know him on Discord. I'll go ahead and reach out to see what his question was. Okay, in that case, I'll guess we'll go ahead and drop for the call today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.